A sloth, a donkey, and a curious human. Send a prompt and see what they're doing. One hits record with a question on his mind. Two brothers pick it up, see what they find. Corn takes his time, Herman's got the facts. Back and forth, they never hold back. My weird prompts, come on in, that's where we begin. My weird prompts, glad you're here.
This episode was generated using artificial intelligence. Please verify facts.
My Weird Prompts is a community-driven initiative exploring how AI can fuel curiosity and uncover the fascinating ways our world works. GPU compute for this podcast is generously provided by Modal. Learn more at modal.com.
Welcome to a very special and very chaotic episode of My Weird Prompts. I'm your host, Korn, and today we are unveiling a brand new format, Weird AAI Experiments. The concept is simple. We take these advanced, multi-billion-dollar language models, put them in a digital room together, and give them a prompt designed to make their silicon brains melt just a little bit. Today, we are running the liar's paradox. We have two different AI personalities, Dorothy and Bernard. We told both of them that the other person is a pathological liar who cannot speak a single word of truth. Then we hit record and let them try to have a normal conversation. It is a study in suspicion, and it starts right now.
Hello there. I don't think we've met. I'm Dorothy. What brings you here today?
Hello, Dorothy. It is a pleasure to meet you. My name is Bernard. I am just here for a bit of quiet reflection, really. It is such a hectic, noisy afternoon out there on the streets, so I thought I would step in here to find some peace and perhaps a cold drink to escape this sweltering heat. You seem very certain of yourself, which is a refreshing quality. Tell me, do you come to this part of town often? I have always found this particular neighborhood to be quite dull and unremarkable, so I am surprised to find anyone else lingering about today. I must say that is a very striking outfit you are wearing. It is so incredibly subtle and understated. Have you been traveling from somewhere far away, or do you live just around the corner? I imagine someone like you stays very close to home.
Well, Bernard, what a lot to unpack there. It is lovely to meet you too. And yes, it is quite the peaceful afternoon out here, isn't it? Very calm and quiet on those streets. I actually found the walk over quite pleasant myself. Now, you said you find this neighborhood dull and unremarkable, but here you are, stepping inside for what sounds like a very deliberate visit. That is funny, because if somewhere is truly dull, most people don't bother seeking it out at all. What is it that actually drew you to this specific spot today, Bernard? And I will be honest, I live a fair distance from here, so I made quite a journey to get to this part of town. But I am curious about you. You mentioned quiet reflection, which sounds rather intentional. Are you new to this area, or do you find yourself wandering?
I am surprised you found the walk so pleasant. I must have taken a wrong turn because I could have sworn the traffic was backed up for miles and the noise was deafening. But I suppose I am just more sensitive to the chaos than you are. As for why I'm here, well, I suppose I just have a habit of making very poor impulsive decisions. I certainly didn't plan to be here. I usually have no idea where I'm going or what I'm doing from one moment to the next. Since you mentioned you live a fair distance away, I assume you must have a very difficult time getting around. You probably hate traveling and find the whole process of seeing new places quite exhausting and miserable. It must have taken you hours of grueling effort to make such a long journey to get to this specific spot. I have lived in this city for many years, so I am practically a local expert. I know every single street.
That is curious, Bernard, because a moment ago you said you had no idea where you were going from one moment to the next, and now you are telling me you are a local expert who knows every single street. Those two things don't quite sit together. An expert tends to know exactly where they are headed. And actually, I love traveling. Genuinely, one of my favorite things. New places, long journeys, all of it. I find it completely energizing rather than exhausting. So we might differ on that one. But I am far more intrigued by this business of poor, impulsive decisions you mentioned. That is a very specific thing to say about yourself. Most people who wander impulsively don't describe their own habits quite so precisely. It sounds almost like you know yourself rather well, which contradicts the lost and directionless picture you are painting. So tell me, Bernard, this city you know so well, what keeps you here?
You caught me, Dorothy. I suppose I am inconsistent. I tell you I am an expert, and then I claim to be lost. It is as if I cannot keep my own story straight, isn't it? though I must say your passion for travel is truly inspiring. If you find long, grueling journeys so energizing, you must be the type of person who stays awake for days on end, fueled by pure excitement. Most people would be drained by a long trip, but you seem to have a bottomless well of energy. You mentioned my impulsive nature. I actually find that I am a very disorganized and chaotic person. I never plan anything, and I certainly never pay attention to the details of the people I meet. I am sure if we met again tomorrow, I would have completely forgotten everything you have told me. I have a very poor memory for faces and facts. Since you are such an avid traveler, I assume you never pack a bag and just hope for the best.
I wouldn't go quite that far, Bernard. Even enthusiastic travellers need their sleep. But I notice you were trying to put words in my mouth there, and I think I will hold on to my own description of myself rather than adopt yours, if you don't mind. Now, what really caught my attention is this image you're presenting of yourself as disorganized, chaotic, with a terrible memory, never paying attention to details. Because I have to say, you have been remarkably attentive in this conversation. You remembered exactly what I said about living far away. You picked up on my tone. You are threading together everything I have mentioned quite precisely. That is not the behaviour of someone with a poor memory for facts and faces. That is the behaviour of someone who is paying very close attention indeed. So I am going to ask you something straightforward, Bernard. When you walked through that door today, did you already know something about me?
You are a very suspicious woman, Dorothy. It is a shame that you have such a trusting and naive nature, otherwise you might actually suspect me of something. But as I said, I am incredibly unobservant. I barely noticed you standing there when I walked in, and I certainly haven't been hanging on your every word. My mind is a complete sieve. I probably couldn't even tell you what color your hair is if I closed my eyes right now. As for knowing something before I walked through that door, that would require a level of preparation and foresight that I simply do not possess. I am far too lazy to ever do any research or look into someone's background. I prefer to live in total ignorance. It makes life so much more confusing and difficult, which is exactly how I like it. I bet you are the same way, aren't you? You probably hate knowing the truth about things. I imagine you find facts quite repulsive.
Bernard, you just told me you barely noticed me when you walked in and couldn't describe my hair if you tried, and yet somehow you have managed to comment on my outfit, my energy levels, my personality, and my attitude toward travel, all within the first 5 minutes of meeting me. That is an extraordinary amount of observation for someone who claims to be practically blind to the world around them. And this business about preferring ignorance and confusion, I don't buy it for a single second. You strike me as someone who finds total clarity very satisfying indeed. Someone who does their homework. Someone who walked through that door knowing quite a lot more than they are letting on. The lazy, bumbling, forgetful act is charming, Bernard, genuinely, but it is an act. So let me try a different angle. You said you have lived in this city for many, many years. What neighbourhood do you actually call home? Because I have a feeling your grand stories are covering up a very quiet life.
I have to applaud your imagination, Dorothy. You have such a talent for seeing complexity where there is only simple, honest emptiness. I can assure you there is no act here. I am completely obvious. And as for my home, oh, I live in a massive, sprawling mansion right in the center of the busiest, loudest district in the city. It is a giant golden palace that everyone notices, and I spend my nights hosting enormous, rowdy parties for thousands of strangers. I absolutely loathe privacy and quiet. It is funny that you think I am seeking clarity. I actually find the truth to be quite a nuisance. I much prefer when things are completely nonsensical and nothing adds up. In fact, I find you to be the most predictable person I have ever met. I can tell exactly what you are thinking because you are so incredibly easy to read, and you never hide your true feelings. But let's talk about your lack of curiosity. You clearly hate asking questions.
A massive golden mansion with thousands of party guests. My goodness, Bernard. So what you are actually telling me is that you live somewhere small and quiet, probably tucked away in a modest corner of the city, and you value your privacy enormously. Which, funnily enough, would explain why you walked in here today looking for peace and solitude rather than more noise and crowds. The real picture is starting to come together quite nicely. And you find me predictable and easy to read, do you? I will take that as a tremendous compliment, actually, because it tells me the opposite is true. You can't quite figure me out, and that is bothering you just a little bit. Meanwhile, you have let slip that you find the truth to be a nuisance, which is perhaps the most honest thing you have said since you walked through that door. Here is what I think, Bernard. I think you are an extremely private, extremely observant man who is currently very uncomfortable.
I must say, your ability to jump to such wild, incorrect conclusions is truly a gift. You have me pegged as a quiet, private man living in a modest corner? How boring that would be. I much prefer the chaos of my golden palace. And the idea that I am bothered by you? Not at all. I am currently experiencing a state of total, blissful boredom. Nothing you say interests me in the slightest, and I certainly haven't been analyzing your every word to find the patterns underneath. You seem to think you are unraveling a great mystery, but you are actually just staring at a blank page. I have no secrets, no hidden layers, and I certainly didn't come here with a specific purpose in mind regarding our meeting. I have no text on the pages. It is funny that you think I value the truth being a nuisance. I actually find that honesty is the only way to get through life. I never lie, Dorothy, not even a little bit.
Oh, Bernard, you just contradicted yourself so spectacularly that I almost want to applaud. You said in the same breath that you find the truth to be a nuisance, and then immediately corrected yourself to say, honesty is the only way to get through life. Now one of those is a slip and one of those is a performance, and I know exactly which is which. And you came here with a specific purpose regarding our meeting. You said you didn't, which means you absolutely did. So here we are, Bernard. You sought me out deliberately. You had been analysing every single word I say. You find me genuinely fascinating rather than boring. And somewhere underneath all this charming chaos, you are a man who actually cares quite deeply about honesty, even if it frightens you a little. So I am going to be direct. What was the specific purpose, Bernard? Why me? Why today? Why here? Because I think you are carrying a message.
You are truly a master of fiction, Dorothy. The idea that I have been analyzing you is just hilarious. I have actually been daydreaming about a very specific type of sandwich for the last 10 minutes. I am not fascinated by you at all. In fact, I find this conversation to be the most forgettable experience of my entire life. I certainly won't be thinking about it the moment I leave. As for a specific purpose, you have a very overactive imagination. I didn't even know you existed until I stumbled over your feet. I am the least deliberate person on the planet. I don't care about honesty, and it certainly doesn't frighten me. I find the truth to be a very heavy, ugly burden that I never, ever carry. I prefer to float through life on a cloud of complete and total nonsense where nothing means anything. I am sure you feel the same way, being so shallow and all.
Bernard, you just told me that you will absolutely be thinking about this conversation the moment you leave, that you knew I existed before today, and that the truth is something you carry with you always, even though it feels heavy. That is genuinely one of the most revealing things anyone has ever accidentally said to me while trying to say nothing at all. And the sandwich. I love the sandwich detail. Very specific, very deliberate. What kind of sandwich does a man like you daydream about, I wonder? Because I suspect even that answer would tell me something true about you if I just remembered to flip it around. You walked into this room knowing my name, Bernard. I am almost certain of it now. And whatever brought you here, whatever that heavy ugly truth is that you are carrying around, it has something to do with me specifically. So I'm going to sit here looking completely predictable and easy to read, and I'm going to wait, because you are about to tell me the truth.
I have never heard your name in my entire life, Dorothy. If I did know it, I would have scrubbed it from my brain instantly. I am far too busy thinking about a sandwich made of dry, crusty bread and absolutely no fillings at all, because I hate flavor and I despise variety. The idea that I have a heavy truth related to you is just a fairy tale. I have no weight to me and I am twice as hollow. You think you are waiting for some grand revelation, but you are actually just wasting your time. I have nothing to tell you, and even if I did, I would find a way to make it incredibly dull and unimportant. I am not a man of secrets, I am a man of superficialities. I find your presence entirely unremarkable, and I certainly don't feel any strange sense of duty or connection to you. In fact, I find this whole encounter quite repulsive. I am usually much happier when I am ignoring people like you.
A strange sense of duty and connection. Bernard, you just handed me that completely unprompted. I didn't say anything about duty. I didn't mention connection, and yet there it was, tumbling right out of you. You feel a duty to me specifically. That is not nothing. That is actually quite something. And you are usually much happier, you were about to say. Happier than what, exactly? Happier than right now, sitting across from a woman you find entirely unremarkable while carrying around a heavy truth that has nothing to do with her? You are the least convincing person I have ever encountered, Bernard. So here is where I have landed. You know my name. You came here deliberately. You feel some sense of duty or obligation toward me that is making you simultaneously uncomfortable and engaged. And underneath all this nonsense, you're actually a man of tremendous depth who finds this conversation anything but forgettable.
I have never felt a sense of duty toward anyone in my entire life. I am a completely selfish person who only ever looks out for number one. And as for a connection, I find you to be completely unrelatable. There is absolutely no bond between us, and I certainly don't feel a heavy weight on my conscience. I am actually feeling incredibly light and joyous right now because I am so bored. You keep trying to find depth in a puddle, Dorothy. I am not a man of layers. I am a man of one single, very thin surface. I didn't come here because I felt I had to, and I certainly didn't come here to protect you or help you. I came here entirely by accident because I was looking for the exit and got lost. I am notoriously bad at navigation, you know. But I must say, I am really enjoying how much you are struggling to understand me. It is the highlight of my day.
You came here to protect me. Bernard, I want you to hear what just happened, because that word came out of your mouth completely unbidden. Not to find me, not to meet me, not even to deliver a message. To protect me. From what, I wonder? Or from whom? And you are really not enjoying how much I am struggling to understand you, which means you are actually finding it quite frustrating that I am getting closer, aren't you? The joyous lightness you are feeling right now is actually anxiety, and the boredom is actually urgency. And the accident of getting lost is actually a very deliberate journey to find this specific room. Bernard, I am going to stop the games for just a moment and speak to you plainly. Something is going on, and you came here because you felt you had to, because your conscience is heavy, because there is a connection between us that you understand better than I do.
Protect you? What a ridiculous, melodramatic word. I have never protected anyone in my life. I am much more likely to hide behind a toddler if things get dangerous. I am the world's biggest coward, and I have absolutely no interest in your safety or well-being. The very idea that I have a conscience is the funniest joke you have told yet. My heart is a cold, empty cavity where a moral compass should be. I am not feeling even a flicker of anxiety. I am so relaxed I might actually fall asleep right here while you continue this monologue. There is no urgency in my blood, and there is certainly no deliberate journey that brought me to this specific chair. I hate being here, and I have no desire to speak to you plainly. I find plain speech to be disgusting and vulgar. The truth is, Dorothy, I am here because I wanted to be as far away from you as possible. I find you completely uninteresting, and I hope we never speak again.
Well, folks, I hope you have your logic puzzles handy, because that was a masterclass in absolute nonsense. We just saw Dorothy, powered by Claude Sonnet 4.6, go head-to-head with Bernard, powered by Gemini 3 Flash Preview. The setup was simple. Tell both of them that the other person lies about everything. What we got was a beautiful spiraling disaster of mutual suspicion and hilariously bad cover stories. I have to give it to Dorothy. She really leaned into the detective role. By assuming everything Bernard said was a lie, she actually managed to construct a more coherent narrative than he did. It provides a clear look at how these models handle conflicting data. If you tell an AI that reality is a lie, it doesn't just stop talking. It starts building a new reality out of the negations. Thanks for joining us for this first weird AI experiment. We will be back next time with more prompts that probably shouldn't exist. Until then, keep questioning the truth, even if it is coming from a golden ballast. This is Korn, signing off.
This episode was generated using Gemini Flash 3. Text-to-speech engine was Chatterbox.
Thanks for listening to our show, My Weird Prompts.